Hey, what's going on, guys? So I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I've been delayed by a few days. So I talked earlier in the week about protein and the ketogenic diet. Today I want to talk about carbs in the ketogenic diet and when you can do carb refeeds, and whether or not carb refeeds are going to be beneficial for you. But the reason why I wanted to bring this out is because there's a lot of people talking about ketosis these days. There's very few people talking about contingencies and how to integrate ketosis into your life that is going to allow you to do it in a sustainable and consistent manner. All right. And so I see a lot of people doing some crazy things out there and saying some crazy things. Not to say that there's no good information out there. I saw a really great video by Goody Beats earlier in the week. He was doing this OMAD 3,000 calories a day experiment. I think that's pretty awesome that he's experimenting with that. But there's other people out there who are just so militant about this ketogenic diet thing. And as you know, I love the keto diet. I've been doing it for over 5 years now, and I've gotten a lot of benefits out of it. But I've also found that there's a lot of ways to hack the system so that you don't have to live like a monk, so that you don't have to do this super strict, super archaic form of the ketogenic diet. And there's a problem out there now. I'm doing some swimming here. Whoa, look at that. There's a problem out there now that when somebody finds something new, they tend to get super militant about it. So there's a lot of people who just found the ketogenic diet, who found it, got a lot of benefit out of it, wanted to tell other people about it, so they jump into the coaching space. And so they start these private Facebook groups. And then you go into the private Facebook groups and they talk about, you'll see like in the rules, it'll say, the ketogenic diet is 80% fat, 10% protein, 10% carbs. Rules of this group: if you post anything with high protein or high carbs that's outside of the realm of keto, you will have your post erased and potentially be banned from the group. Like, wow, dude. Like, chill out, man. It's just a diet. It's just a way of eating. But my big fear there is that a lot of people are going to get scared off by that, because I think that fat adaptation is one of the things that's benefited me the most in my life. And if somebody came along to me at the beginning and said, hey, you got to do this super strict form of the ketogenic diet, and if you ever look at bread again, if you ever look at pasta again, you're out of here and you're a failure, right? I wouldn't go for that. And I don't want people to get scared off by this militant talk that's out there. So let's talk about ways that you could potentially include carbohydrates in your diet while still experiencing the benefits of ketosis, but including carbs in a sensible manner. So what are a few scenarios where you could? Well, number one, if you are an athlete and you are training multiple times a day, there could actually be some really negative things that happen to your body if you don't include some carbohydrates in your diet on a regular basis, right? And I'm talking about things like adrenal burnout. I'm talking about hypothyroidism. I'm talking about issues with performance, losing your explosivity. And there is no athlete out there who wants to decrease his performance or her performance just so they can experience ketosis. So what do you do if you're an athlete and you want to experience fat adaptation while still being able to experience ketosis? You can most certainly include some carbohydrates in your diet, and my advice is to include them later in the day after you've done your training, after you've done all your work. In your last meal of the day, include some carbohydrate there. I do this a few times a week where I will include a cup of white rice, or I'll include some potatoes, or I'll include some sweet potatoes, or some other gluten-free form of carbohydrate in order to just keep my system going, in order to balance out my adrenals and really put me, to be honest, I'm getting all tongue-tied now, but to be honest with you, it helps me to sleep. If I don't have carbohydrates for an extended period of time, and I've been doing tons and tons of work and running and rolling jiu-jitsu and lifting weights and doing things that are getting my system going, if I don't have carbohydrates for an extended period of time, I tend to become insomniac and out for just sleeping. But one of the best ways I found to put myself to sleep is to cook up some white rice, to cook up some maybe even some brown rice pasta. I'll have not on a huge level, but a sensible amount. And if you read Jeff Volek and Stephen Finney's book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance, they actually talk about the fact that if you are an athlete and you are training that much, you can probably consume upwards of 150 grams of carbohydrate a day and remain in ketosis. Of course, it varies from person to person. Now, what if you're an average, everyday person and you're not training all that much, and you're getting a workout in maybe 45 minutes, 3 to 4 to 5 times a week? Well, these types of people, you could still include carbohydrates in your diet on a sensible basis, but you'd probably have to narrow that down to maybe once a week, or maybe once every other week, or maybe even once a month. It really, again, depends on your system, but you can definitely include a cheat meal or a refeed in there every so often. You don't need to have a refeed all the time if you're not doing all that work, because people on the ketogenic diet, they actually retain glycogen a lot easier than people who are on a high carbohydrate diet. And that was shown in a study that Jeff Volek did over at the University of Connecticut with ultra endurance runners. They found when they did a 3-hour trial, ultra endurance runners who were doing a high fat diet for 6 months actually retained more glycogen after that 3-hour trial than the high carb dieters who were doing the high carb diet for 6 months. And that was after a 3-hour run. Literally, the low carbohydrate, high fat runners literally had more glycogen in their system than the high carb runners. They were just using fat for fuel to fuel the run through the whole period of time. So that's why you don't need a refeed all the time. But let's talk about ways that you could actually hack your body and be able to include more carbs if you wanted to. So if you aren't getting that much activity, but let's say you're including a fast, and let's say you're going to 1 meal a day, right? And you're fasting, you're doing 24-hour fast. During that after that 24-hour fast, you could definitely include some carbs in your diet and probably be okay with adapting back into ketosis right after that, right? That's because you'll have more and more of your liver glycogen burned out, more and more of your muscle glycogen burned out. In particular, if you've done exercise during that fast, you probably include some carbohydrates when you're breaking the fast. And again, that also depends on how much fat you have on your system. If you're a really overweight person, then you probably wouldn't benefit by including that much carbohydrates in at that point. But if you're somebody who's very, very lean, you probably could benefit by including some carbohydrates in the meal that breaks that fast. Let's talk about another scenario here. Those of you who've been fat adapted for a very long period of time will also be able to get back into ketosis quicker, right? So let's say I go off on vacation and I eat a whole lot. When I've done this, because I do live life, I do enjoy myself, I do like pasta, I am Italian, I've gone to visit my mom in Connecticut, and when my mom cooks for me, if I say, "Mom, I'm ketogenic, don't give me pasta," she'll slap me upside the head. So I'm eating pasta when I'm over there, and when I come back from that, I'm able to adapt back into ketosis fairly quickly, and I don't go through all the issues that I had when I first adapted into ketosis and got the keto flu, right? The longer you're fat adapted, the easier of a time you're going to have in getting back into ketosis if you do a cheat meal. And so basically what I'm trying to convey here is this, and like I said, I go into this in a lot more detail with scientific references in the Keto Camp product, but don't be afraid that you're never going to be able to eat carbohydrates again. And if you are an athlete who is doing tons and tons of work and you're very lean, you probably benefit by including carbohydrates in your diet on a regular basis and opt for more of a cyclical cyclical ketogenic diet. Can't talk today. Sorry if this sounded like it was super muddled, but I wanted to get this out to you, get my perspective on this, because like I said, there's a lot of keto Nazis coming out now. And I don't mean to call them Nazis. I'm sure they're very great people, but I don't want people getting scared off from this forever when it's something that could benefit them a whole heck of a lot. If you have any questions for me on this, please put them in the comments below. And if you want, I'm putting out my free starting keto course right now. You can click on the link below in the description box. I give you so many different resources. You get a keto, 2 free keto cookbooks. You can get workouts every day in my free private Facebook group. You get a free goal setting guide, and you get 5 videos. That's not 5. 5 videos that will teach you everything you need to know about adapting ketosis and starting keto the right way. So, talk to you guys soon. Peace.